Hello again everyone, and welcome to our monthly fun and informative feature that is the Vanners Collaboration Playlist. Each month our group of motorhome and caravan themed channels get together to make a video on a common theme. And this month the theme is our history of leisure vehicles. Well, we've twisted a little bit because we've only had the two really, but we have had a lot of other camping equipment. So let's take a look through our history of camping arrangements. Don't forget to watch the other videos in the collaboration group. There'll be a playlist on the end screen and also a link in the description. Now, our first camping setup was of course a tent, and it was a frame tent we bought just before we got married, in fact, and we bought it from a very drunken Scotsman who actually tripped over some of the guy ropes and bent it a little bit. It was on sale. It was a sort of ex-display model, and while he was demonstrating it he had a little bit of a tumble. Now, we did have several holidays in this. We had our honeymoon in it, in fact. We went down to Felixstowe and yeah, had a night's camping there on a bank holiday weekend. So yeah, that got plenty of use early on for family holidays. Now, that old frame tent is long gone, sadly. It did in the end get a little bit too tired to be used. But my dad did give us his old three-man tent, and that's often pressed into service for trips that I make, often to the National Association of Mining History's annual conference. And Nikki and I have had little trips away in it as well. And not only that, we've used it on occasions with the children when they were younger. Now, quite some time ago I also bought a lightweight two-man backpacking tent, so we could go on backpacking trips up in the hills. And one particular lovely occasion that we had was with my youngest daughter, just me and her, and we hiked up into the Berwyn Mountains just south of Snowdonia. It's a lovely area. It's not as much frequented by people, visitors, tourists, walkers and such, as the more popular Snowdonia. And as a result, I think we spent one night camping up on the hills, but we only saw, I think, 4 other people, 2 groups of 2, the whole time we were up there. Camped right in the middle of nowhere by a little lake high up in the mountains, just me and her. The weather was a little bit windy at one point, and we were a little bit alarmed at the way the tent was blowing around, but she loved it. Small children do love to be terrified most of the time, I find. So yeah, it was important, I think, to have those experiences, and yeah, I enjoyed it almost as much as she did, I think. And both that 3-man tent and 2-man tent are still in service, still in the shed, and still occasionally used. Now, when the old frame tent was no longer serviceable, we did buy a much bigger tent. It was a Hartford Ttxela, I believe it was called, an Outwell Hartford Ttxela. That was a massive tent. It had a big domed central area and I think 3 separate bedrooms around the dome and a sort of a porch area as well. So you could take quite a few people away in that and be relatively comfortable, even if the weather was bad, because you could easily stand up and walk around in the middle. You could have dining tables set up in the middle, play games and such in the evening. It was a very useful, large space. We had quite a few family holidays in that, taking the children's friends and even boyfriends and things came with us much later on. We also had some birthday weekends away in it, where all our children's friends come along and joined in a birthday weekend, and even my parents come along as well in their caravan. So that was a very useful tent, but once we bought the motorhome we had outgrown it really, so that's now with our next door neighbours who use that to go away with their family sometimes. Now, while we had that really big family tent, I also found the need for a bit of a smaller, large stand-up tent, if that makes any sense. So I bought this. I think it's a Vango tent. It does divide up into 2 little bedrooms inside, and it's also got an area you can stand up in and cook and such. And I do use that more often now to go to the mining conferences, and it's also been pressed into service on more than one occasion for a family trip. And last year we did go away with the motorhome and the tent, so the children could come along as well, albeit they're pretty grown up now. And then of course was our first motorhome, the Citroen C25 Eldis AutoQuest 270 from 1990. And how that come about was Nikki had unfortunately just been through quite a bit of cancer treatment and was on the mend and sort of got the all clear and such. And I had some redundancy money from a job a little while ago that had come to an end. It wasn't very much. I think I had about £5,000 or £6,000 sitting in an account, and I said, now that you're sort of better, let's treat ourselves with something. And she suggested either a cruise or buying a motorhome, and we thought, well, a cruise, after we've done that, the money's spent, it's gone, but a motorhome will stay with us into the future and provide sort of future entertainment and trips. But we had limited budget, of course, so for £5,500 I bought the old AutoQuest 270, and what a fantastic time we had with that. I had that for 5 or 6 years before we replaced it, and I really do miss it. I became properly intimately acquainted with the van there, and yeah, knew every inch of it, underneath, engine, inside, bodywork, everything. There wasn't a part of that that I hadn't crawled over and tinkered with at some point, and I do miss that. But the time came for us to have a van with a fixed bed, because Nikki does get tired quite quickly and sometimes wants to go to bed quite early, and having to make up the bed in the old AutoQuest was becoming a bit tiresome. So we had half an eye out for a van with a fixed bed. And that of course brings us to our current van, the Berstner Nexo T660 from 2012. We saw it at the very last Peterborough Motorhome show, and Nikki took an instant shine to it. It was quite a way out of the budget that I had in mind, but we walked around and discussed it, and we realised we probably could stretch to it, so went back and did the deal, and here we are in our Berstner Nexo T660. Part of the discussion was, if we bought it, we flipping well had to use it. If there was going to be that much money invested, it wasn't going to sit on the drive. So I think we've kept to that quite well. We are away in it quite often. So there you go, we are bang up to date. Don't forget to watch the other Vanna collaboration group contributors videos. And yeah, we'll see you again very soon in the next one.